Om Abhyanitimandasya Janan Jana Salakaya Chaksul Uminatam Nina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadai Mayam Tadati Swapandantikam. Today is the last verse of Sri Damodar Astakam. Namaste stu damne spurda dipti damne tvadiyo dayaratyata vishvasya damne namo radikayai tvadiya priyayai namo ananta lilaya devaya tubhyam. O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Some incomplete things are here. So, this is the final prayer. And as we have seen in all of these prayers, there is the offering of obeisances. Namaste. Just like we say when we greet someone, Namaste. I offer my obeisances unto you. Namaste. And in this verse, obeisances are offered in succession. First to the rope, then to the abdomen, which has been tied by the rope, then to Srimati Radharani, and then to Krishna's pastimes, and especially to one particular pastime, as we shall see. So there is an order here, a successive order, which indicates the importance. Of course, you may wonder what could be more important than Srimati Radharani. So that last thing which is being offered to is the pastimes which Krishna has with Srimati Radharani, and specifically the best of pastimes, Krishna's Ras Lila dancing with Radharani. So, Te damne namostu. I bow to the Mahapasha, that magnificent rope which binds your belly. Not an ordinary rope, certainly, because it is in contact with Krishna. And in fact, the rope is described Spurat dipti damne. That rope is splendorous, and it is the abode of all effulgence. And in fact, it is indicated here that the author sees this rope as the source or as the abode of Krishna's Brahmajyoti. In other words, it is so effulgent that it is as effulgent as the entire Brahmajyoti. Things in relationship with the Lord are as worshipable as the Lord. So if anybody wonders why it is appropriate to offer obeisances to a rope, the fact is that this is not just an ordinary piece of hemp, but it is actually, as it's described, Aradhananam Savesham Vishnu Anadanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samachadam. Tadiyanam, those things in relationship with Krishna. So, this rope has got so much value because by being bound by this rope, the beautiful abdomen of the Lord becomes highlighted. We become aware of Krishna's glorious belly because this rope has encircled it. And therefore the next obeisances is offered to Krishna's abdomen. Tvadiyaya Udaraya Namostuhu. I offer obeisances unto Lord Damodar's belly. And it is a very beautiful abdomen. We see Krishna's abdomen has folds of skin, and it is not ordinary, because this is the same abdomen from which the lotus has grown in the form of Vishnu, upon which Lord Brahma is born. So we can say that this belly is the source of everything, because all the universes will come out from here. In the form of Mahavishnu, when he breathes out, the universes come out. In the form of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, from his navel comes a lotus, and the whole universal planetary systems come out. So this belly is not an ordinary child's belly, but it is the source of everything. So it is certainly very wonderful and splendorous. And as soon as we start to think in this way, of how all the universes have come from the Lord, then the next thing which comes to mind is the pastimes with Mother Yasoda in Vrindavan, when Krishna opened his mouth and Mother Yasoda looked inside, and she saw again the universes within. So as soon as we think like this of the belly of the Lord, the universes are contained within, and then we remember this pastime, which is another wonderful pastime, in which two things are shown. On the one hand, the devote, just stay there in case you have to again rush out. Maybe you'll have to go out again. Two opposite, apparently opposite features are shown. On the one hand, we say that due to the Yogamaya, the internal energy of the Lord, who facilitates Krishna's pastimes, Krishna and his devotees forget that Krishna is God and that they are subordinates. At the same time, we should never think that the eternal associates of Krishna don't know everything. The fact is that Mother Yasoda gets to see that her child is in fact the source of everything. She looks in his mouth, she sees the universe, and she knows everything. At the same time, she forgets it all by the arrangement of Yogamaya. So, when we say that Vrindavan or Braj is in the mood of madhurya or sweetness, actually it is also that place of complete Aishvarya or opulence. There is no place more opulent than Vrindavan. How is it said? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained in Brajavriti Chintamani that the trees in Vrindavan are all Kalpavriksha trees, and they are made of beautiful jewels. They're jeweled trees. And all of the dust and all of the abodes, everything is made of Chintamani jewels. So there's no way to compare the opulence of Vrindavan, even with, if you were to many times magnify the opulence of the best Vaikuntha planet, it won't equal the opulence of Vrindavan. But that opulence is covered with sweetness. But it's not that the opulence is not there. Similarly, it is not that the residents of Vrindavan don't know. They know everything. But by the arrangement of Yogamaya, it appears that they don't know, and they actually don't remember in this way. But actually they're all knowing. And we should always understand this. So it is a type of dual quality which exists simultaneously. So, Mother Yasoda bound up Krishna's abdomen. In binding up Krishna's abdomen, within the abdomen of Krishna, all of the universes were coming. So by binding up the abdomen, in fact, she was able to bind up the whole universe. In other words, the whole universe came under her control. So this is the next point. That these eternal associates of Krishna are so powerful that unlimited numbers of planet and universal systems are factually able to be controlled by them, but they don't care to do so. But the fact that they can control Krishna means that they control the whole creation. So, what appears to be a very motherly, affectionate lady, Mother Yasoda, you can put all of the yogis together, you can put all of the Ishvaras together, and they cannot equal in one little bit her power. That's the position of Krishna's eternal associates. They're practically not less than Krishna. And if Krishna desires, they can be more than Krishna. Although no one can be greater than Krishna. So, all of these apparently contradictory features make it impossible for someone who is a logician or simply depending upon Gyan to fathom properly these pastimes. These pastimes and these apparently contradictory qualities or features of the Lord cannot be understood except by a devotee through bhakti. Otherwise it's not possible. Then, Namo Radhikaya. Obeisances are offered to Lord Krishna's beloved Srimati Radhika. Why? First of all, it is clear that if one receives the mercy of Damodar's beloved, then all of one's objectives can be realized. In fact, even those things which one does not desire, or you can say, those desires which we do not have yet, but which we may one day have with purification, all of these things can be achieved by getting the satisfaction, by satisfying, that is to say, she who is the most beloved of Lord Damodar. So there's good reason to bow down to her. And by offering obeisances to her, we are offering obeisances to all the gopis. So far, obeisances to the gopis is concerned, this is certainly not a whimsical act on the part of the author of this prayer, because we see that Brahma is praying in this way. We see that Uddhava is praying in this way. Uddhava is bowing down. Not only is he bowing down to the gopis, he's bowing down to the dust which is beneath the lotus feet of the gopis. He's praying that he can live in some place as a blade of grass, simply to get the foot dust of the gopis when they come in and out of Vrajadam. So, this is not just his own unique prayer, but this is the prayer of all of the great personalities. In our line, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer. When he identifies himself, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a sannyasi, a grihastha, I'm a gopi, patapata kamalayor, dasa, dasa, anudasa. I simply want to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the master of the gopis. I want to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. So all of these things are indicated by Namo Radhikaya. Radhika denotes the attributes of one who is always engaged in Krishna's aradhana. And the word Radha comes from aradhana. Aradhana means worship. So she who worships Krishna best, she whose only interest is the service of Krishna, she is called Radhika or Radha. Tvadiya priyayai, obeisances unto your beloved. Tvadiya, not only is she dear to you, but all of your other devotees as well. Because we see that whoever is devoted to Krishna loves Srimati Radharani. Mother Yasoda takes Radharani to be just like her own daughter, and she says that I love Radharani as much as I love my own son. Everyone feels that way in Braja. So, by offering obeisances unto Srimati Radharani, automatically you please all of the residents of Vrindavan. Now, all of the residents of Vrindavan are the heart and soul of Krishna. So when you have done something which pleases all the residents of Vrindavan, consider how much you have become pleasing to Krishna. And therefore Krishna will certainly do everything for you. There is a nice verse which prays to Krishna in this month of Urjavrat. That Urjeshwari is another name for Srimati Radhika. She is the presiding deity of this month of Kartik. So, praying to Krishna, please give me unflinching devotion to your dearmost devotee, Srimati Radhika. So, this is how the devotee is praying here. Very intelligently. The last prayer is the best prayer. And that prayer ends with obeisances unto Srimati Radhika. Because knowing very well that by praying to Radhika, the devotee will certainly get the greatest blessing of all from Krishna. Because no one is more dear to Krishna than Radhika. Tvadiya. Therefore, next, Nitya Priya. She is eternally dear, beloved. And you are also her beloved. Nitya Priya, both are Nitya Priya for each other. As she is always loving you, so you are always loving her. So I'm doing this in such a way that I pray that you will be kind to me. As she always loves you, and as you always love her, I offer my obeisances to her with this in mind. Priyayai Namo means either my obeisances are to you, Radhika's beloved, or my obeisances are unto Radhika, who is your beloved. And who is beloved to you is worshipable for the entire universe. Since Radhika is your dearmost beloved, Namostu, I bow down before her. So, certainly this prayer is sung by all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are especially inclined to worship Krishna in connection with Srimati Radhika. Otherwise, they're not. This is their quality. Of all the Vaishnava Sampradayas, their special interest is Krishna in relationship with Radharani. So this prayer is very appropriate. Now it goes on. Obeisances unto the Lord's limitless pastimes. Namo Ananta Lilaya. Now, this Namo Ananta Lilaya has some very hidden meaning, which Sanatana Goswami has brought out. First, the prayer goes, Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Nanta Lilaya Devaya Tubhyam. So since the Lila is following obeisances to Radhika, then this Lila must certainly be Ras Lila. This is Sanatana Goswami's point. Because the order of obeisances, first to the rope, then to the person of Krishna, then to Radharani, and then it must be next to Ras Lila. Otherwise the order will not follow. And he gives another reason. He says there's an excellence known as, it is a type of logical excellence. Madhurena samapayet, all undertakings should be completed sweetly. So in terms of poetic descriptions, they should have a very, very sweet ending. He said, so nothing can be a sweeter ending than to glorify Krishna's Ras Lila pastime. He says, so this is the proof that that is Madhurya. It is Madhurya, it is sweet, and it is Madhurya, it is conjugal, and it therefore must be what is actually indicated here. Devaya, unto Krishna's transcendental nature. Because without the spiritual nature, Krishna's pastimes they exist only in this spiritual nature. So Devaya not only means Krishna's transcendental nature, but the transcendental nature of his pastimes. It is explained that the spiritual world exists in the state of Vishuddha Sattva, pure goodness. We have discussed this earlier, how it is always in pure goodness. So, this is the transcendental nature. Ladini Sambit, when the Vishuddha Sattva comes within the heart of a living being, it means the descent of Ladini, and the Ladini Shakti means personification of Radharani, is personified in Radharani. So when Radharani's mercy comes in the form of bhakti, then this Ladini enlightens the Chit nature. Chit means the intelligence function. So when intelligence becomes illuminated by bhakti, then one can actually understand the transcendental nature of God and his pastimes. Otherwise, at the present moment, our chit, our intelligence is a little bit mundane. And therefore we cannot fully understand these pastimes. We can't understand Krishna properly. We try, we chant, we read, we do everything to understand, but still the realization doesn't fully manifest in our heart because Ladini has not descended. Ladini Shakti has not descended. When does Ladini Shakti descend? There can be at any time. There's no schedule for it. But how will it come? It has to come from Krishna's eternal associates. It has to come from they who have this manifest in their heart. They alone can bestow it on us. And therefore Rupa Goswami says that ultimately you have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees of Vrindavan. Why? Because you have to beg from them this mercy. Otherwise, our hearts are still in a very, shallow. It is very shallow. It is not deep. The love is not deep. The feelings are not deep. So we are begging these eternal associates of Krishna, and we're doing that. We're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has made arrangement here in Mayapur. He gave instruction, Radha Krishna Astasaki. So we get so much opportunity to beg so much mercy. We can beg the mercy of the Acharyas, who are also eternal associates of the Lord. On these days, just like recently we had Disappearance Day of Srila Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj, such a great opportunity to beg mercy from such an exalted Vaishnav as Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj. Very, very elevated person. Gorkashore Das Babaji Maharaj, he appeared to be illiterate, but he used to keep two books especially. He used to keep the songs of Narottam Thakur, Prarthana, Prem Bhakti Chandrika, and he would sing them, and he would just call out, Hey Radhe. He had a very beautiful song he used to sing, which was like a Maha mantra for him. Just calling out to Srimati Radhika. So, persons like this, on these disappearance days, appearance days, we get such an opportunity to access these personalities and to pray from them. Please bestow your mercy upon me. But we should know what to pray for. Our prayer to them has to be in the right mood, with the right objective. And that is why Srila Prabhupada says we should learn the prayers of the great devotees. Because of our own, what are we going to compose? Our hearts are at this point, as I said, shriveled. The feelings are shallow. So if we try to express our own thoughts, not so much will be there. It will lack eloquence both in expression and in actual thought, in the content. So if we utilize the prayers, if we repeat the words of the acharyas, this will be most effective. And we should know what to pray for. Certainly, he knows what to pray for. You can see how, thoughtfully he has composed these verses. So Ananta Lila includes all of the pastimes of Gokul Vrindavan. But it begins and especially highlights the pastime of Krishna's Ras Lila. And this is the actual confidential purport of this verse revealed by Sanatana Goswami. Ananta, that which has no end. The Ras Lila goes on. For how long? It is said that in order to satisfy Krishna and the gopis, the time energy of the Lord arranged to extend the one night of Ras Lila to be as long as a night of Brahma. So for millions and millions of years, they danced Ras Lila. And how many times do they dance Ras Lila? It's not only one night. You go to Braj and you will see so many different places where Krishna danced Ras. Not just one place. Many places on many occasions. And in the spiritual world is eternal function. So Ananta indicates that which has no end, that which has no limit whatsoever. And this is Krishna's rasa dance. Then Lila. Lila is composed of the word li and la. So the syllable li means to embrace. And the syllable la means to accept. So Lila means when Krishna accepts the embraces of the gopis. Ananta Lila. Now Sanatana Goswami is giving us the actual inner meaning of this verse, because he can understand perfectly. Otherwise we can't see these things. Without the help of these acharyas, how can we draw out these meanings? Lila, to embrace, to accept. So Krishna accepts the embraces of the gopis. Ananta, without end, in the form of rasa dance. Thus, he offers obeisances to the Ras Lila and to all of those Leelas associated with this, Ananta Lilaya. Furthermore, to all the pastimes of Gokul Vrindavan. So, by hinting at this topic, because it is not clear, it is not an open fact. How many years have we been singing this verse? And nobody was thinking particularly about Ras Lila until we hear the explanation of Sri Sanatana Goswami. So, Sanatana Goswami says that by only hinting like this, he wants to do, Satyavrata Muni is doing two things. One, he's indicating that this is the topmost of all pastimes. And two, he's indicating it's the most confidential of all pastimes. And as such, it should not be easily Sajidula. As such, it should not be made very open. Those things which are confidential have to be discussed only amongst the most qualified persons. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 33rd chapter, that is the final chapter of Krishna's Ras Lila, there is a warning at the end. Naitat samacharet jatu manasapi hi anishvaraha vinasyati acharan modyat yata rudro bijam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. A Rudra, someone who is not Rudra, if he tried to drink an ocean of poison, would die. Similarly, anyone who is not qualified and tries to understand, to contemplate this subject matter of Ras Lila, it will be like drinking poison. And that is why Vyasadeva Sukadeva Goswami has put the Ras Lila pastimes of the Lord in the 10th canto. First, making one go through the first 9 cantos to gradually qualify himself for hearing the Ras Lila pastimes. Otherwise, if someone hears it, sometimes we see foolish people try to imitate Krishna's rasa dancing. And these people are called prakrita sahajiyas. So even if you don't try to imitate, but if one is not strictly following the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti, and is not under the proper guidance of a genuine spiritual master, then hearing these subject matters will pollute the mind. And therefore we don't find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu openly discussing this topic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said, had 3.5 confidential devotees with whom he discussed all of these topics. Ramananda Roy, Srup Damodar, and 2 others. Do you know who they are? And say, Srimate knows. Siki Mahiti, and who's the wife of Siki Mahiti? The sister of Siki Mahiti. No? You must not have been going to Jagannath Puri recently. Otherwise you would have known. What's Siki Mahiti's sister's name? Huh? Madhavi. So, 3.5 confidential devotees. And only amongst these devotees, all subject matters were discussed. Of course, he discussed sometimes with others, but generally, these are the 4 devotees who were open to these confidential, and especially Srup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, who were none other than Lalita and Vishaka Devis. So, he was very careful. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very careful. Srila Prabhupada was very careful. I recall we went to Madras. It must have been 1972, I think. We went to Madras with Prabhupada. And so the host where we were staying, he and his wife came in early one morning and asked Prabhupada that, Swamiji, we want to hear Ras Lila from you. And Prabhupada just folded his hand and said, I am not fit to hear Ras Lila. What to speak of speaking it? So Prabhupada also did not discuss it. So, one has to be qualified. On the other hand, it is not inappropriate to hear Ras Lila if one is under the proper guidance. And therefore we have Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, for example, given to us in the very early phases of ISKCON, in which Prabhupada describes the Ras Lila pastime. Why is it all right to hear it? Because you're under the care and guidance of Srila Prabhupada. He's guiding you at every moment. So if you have the proper guidance, then hearing, Prabhupada says, hearing that description will remove lust from the heart. And this is confirmed by Sukadeva Goswami. He says, oh, you didn't put the translation of the verse. Where's the book? Control the Guru. May I begin? Thank you. Vikriditam vrajavadubir idam shavishnu Shradanvito anusnuyat ata varnayat yaha. Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam rid rogam asvapinoti achirena diraha. Rid rogam. Rit roga means a disease of the heart. Rit rog. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So actually, if we properly hear from the correct authority in the right association with the right mood, then this disease of the heart, rit rog, lust, will become cured. Now we have our doctor here. Have you got any medicine for this disease? What medicine do you advise? Huh? I am only repeating the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the proper medicine for this disease is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to chant all of the mantras and prayers which are given to us by our great acharyas, and to hear the pastimes of Krishna, especially the pastimes which involve Srimati Radharani and her Gopi associates, which are especially recommended here by Sukadeva Goswami as a cure for this disease of the heart. This is the number one problem, isn't it? They say the number one killer is heart disease. So, you can say now, this is nothing new. Here's a 5,000-year-old text, and it was the number one killer in those days also. The difference is that they already knew the cure, and they're still trying to find a cure today. But because they're only trying to use their own logic and reason, they can't cure this disease. But here is the cure which has been given by Sukadeva Goswami. Here, the Ras Lila pastime, Krishna is dancing with the gopis from a pure devotee's lips like Srila Prabhupada, and your disease of the heart will become cured. So, the Ras Lila pastime is a crest jewel of all the Leelas. And it gives the crest jewel of all benefits. Because anyone who hears these pastimes and becomes attracted to them can follow in the footsteps of the maidservants of the gopis. And therefore it is said that whoever is a devotee of these pastimes is the crest jewel, or best of all devotees. So this is the final prayer of Damodar Astakam, and it ends in such a befitting way. So we'll stop here and ask if anyone has any questions or comments.
Just one comment, and that is that just like Srila Prabhupada always very hesitant to discuss Ras Lila, he was also very adamant that no devotee take up residence in Radhakund. Although, if you read the Nectar of Instruction, it states very clearly that this is the highest abode of any devotee.
I'll repeat. Dhananjaya Prabhu has said that Srila Prabhupada not only did not discuss openly Ras Lila, he also advised that no one should live. He warned against devotees living at Radhakund, although in the Nectar of Instruction it says that this is the highest place of residence. Rupa Goswami has made, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he advises, and it is advised in fact in Nectar Devotion, that one of the 5 potent forms of bhakti is to eternally reside, or to always live in Brajadam, Mathura Vrindavan, or even Navadvip Mayapur. So he says that if you cannot do so by body, then do so within the mind, to live there mentally. So we have no qualification for living at Radhakund. one can only live at Radhakund in the liberated stage. Otherwise one cannot live there. Actually, our Goswamis lived there. Headed by Raghunath Das Goswami, he excavated Radhakund. And not only Raghunath Das Goswami, but they all stayed there at different times. And even recently, Bhaktivinoda Thakur resided at Radhakund, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur resided at Radhakund. But our Srila Prabhupada did not reside there. Rather, he would come to visit there, and he would circumambulate and pay his respects, and in this way, always try to foster a mood which will one day qualify us. It is not that we don't desire to reside there. Certainly as the followers of Rupa and Raghunath, that is our desire. But one has to first deserve and then desire. So we try to do everything to qualify. And what is that? We do service to the spiritual master's instructions, service to the mission. The best qualification for residence in the Lord's abode is to push forward very vigorously the Krishna consciousness movement. And that is what Prabhupada emphasized. There is a definite connection. The more you preach Krishna consciousness and expand the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more you attract his attention and his favor. And it is only by the favor of Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one will actually become qualified for the shelter of Radha and Krishna's lotus feet. So if we want, just I give a good example, that our very dear Sankirtan devotee, Harinamananda Prabhu, the disciple of Harikesh Maharaj. So maybe you know his history, that he was in Switzerland, and somehow he heard that, you should go to Mayapur. So he and his friend went to Mayapur. And then he was in Mayapur, and they told him, you should always chant Hare Krishna while you're here. So he was walking up and down this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati road, chanting all day in Mayapur, back and forth, day after day. And then someone told him that you should go to Vrindavan. So then he went to Vrindavan. And he was in Vrindavan, and then someone told him the best place of all is Radhakund. So then he went to Radhakund, and he lived there for about 3 months. Right? And he taking his bath every day in Radhakund, staying there and just chanting constantly. And then somehow he decided he wanted to go back. He went back to Switzerland, joined the temple, and then he went out and started distributing books like anything. So it reminds us of Prabhupada's. One time, two sannyasis went in Vrindavan to Radha Raman temple, and they were darshaning the deity of Radha Raman. So the pujari saw them, and he said that it's nice to see how devoted you are. If you continue to be this devoted to Radha Raman, in your next life you can take birth here in Vrindavan and become their sevite, their servant. So when Prabhupada heard this, he said, what did you reply? And they said that, we didn't know what to say. He said, you should have told them that if he keeps worshipping Radharaman this way, in his next life, he can take birth and go to the West and distribute books. So, we see that the blessing of Srimati Radharani enabled Harinamananda Prabhu to become a great book distributor. So there's so much connection in both respects. This is the way we will qualify ourselves, by pleasing our spiritual master and pleasing the Vaishnavas of ISKCON through service to the movement of ISKCON. This will give us the number one best qualification for residence in the Dham. You had your hand up?
Pray this morning by repeating prayers past Ashmir. We like to pray Srila Prabhupada Dastas from Vrindavan Maimamata. I pray that I may be engaged in the service as a moving and non-moving residents of Vrindavan. What are Brahma and the other demigods in comparison to them? The residents of Vrindavan are more glorious. They are very near to brother's king, Sri Krishna. Their forms are eternal, spiritual, and full of nectar. With all my heart,
I shall serve Praja's residence, thus the whose feet purifies even Brahma, Shiva, and also the Vedas. Eternally I bow down before Praja's residence, who have limitless splendor, bliss, and limitless love for Shri Krishna, and who hold in their arms the limitless power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And the same can be said for the residents of Navadvip Dham, who are so dear to Lord Gauranga. So we will soon have the opportunity, if Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu permit us, to again go on Navadvip Parikrama, and we will get such a good opportunity to take the dust of the Dham, take the dust of all of the residents' lotus feet. So pray for that fortune that you can join in the Navadvip Parikrama.
What is the connection between the 11th and 12th?
Actually, Bhagavatam is finished in 10 cantos. The 11th canto is again a very important canto. It is the summary or synthesis of all that has been given in the first 9 cantos. Krishna's instruction. First, there's Narada's instructions to Yudhisthira, Krishna's instructions to Uddhava. Uddhava Gita is there. So it is a synthesis of all that has come before, which is a standard procedure in literatures, that after everything is explained, it is again summarized. So this happens in the 11th. And 12th canto is the explanation of what will come in the future, in the Kali Yuga. But actually the Bhagavatam is complete in 10 cantos. And therefore, Prabhupada completed the Bhagavatam. Sometimes people say, why didn't Prabhupada complete the Bhagavatam? He did complete the Bhagavatam. Actually, he did complete. Otherwise, no way he would have left without doing so. If he had felt that it was not complete, I think he would not have left. And sometimes people say, why didn't he complete it? I think he did complete it. Not to say that the 11th canto is probably quoted more than any other canto. When in the Acharya's commentaries on various literatures, in the Sandarbhas, the 11th canto is quoted like anything. Especially Uddhava Gita is quoted, and Narada's teachings also. But why? Because they're so condensed, a synthesis of everything, of all the other 9 cantos, that you can find practically everything, all important instructions, you can find in very compact statements in the 11th canto. They're excellent, for proving various philosophical points. But in fact, it is all a summary of what has gone before.
It is said that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. How does it refer to Navadvip, which is not different from Vrindavan?
How does he what? I didn't hear the...
How does it refer? What is connection with this idea with this statement that Navadvip Dham is not different from Vrindavan?
Navadvip Dham is at the center of Vrindavan. In the center of Vraja is Navadvip, where Lord Krishna is feeling intense separation from Srimati Radharani. He assumes the form of Lord Gauranga, and that is Navadvip. And it exists in the center of Vraj. Navadvip is at the center of Vraj. When Krishna feels intense separation from Radharani, he assumes her form or color, and that is Lord Chaitanya. Inside Krishna, outside Radharani. So, Krishna is always in Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya is always in Navadvip. So let us... Oh, one last point.
Why is stress given that they wrote this so effulgent? Everything is effulgent.
Because the rope must be Satchidananda. It is not less than the abode of the Brahmajyoti, because it's able to encircle the Lord, who is the abode of everything. So this rope is not some ordinary rope, but it is Satchidananda. That's the point, that the rope is itself spiritual energy personified. It is the Brahmajyoti effulgence.
Everything is done.
Yes, but this rope is not... Everything is, but everything doesn't encircle Krishna's abdomen. The rope does. Okay, yes. Like the Brahmajyoti encircles everything. Means it's the abode of the... He says, he gives this explanation of the Sanatana Goswami, that it's the abode of the Brahmajyoti, means that the Brahmajyoti is the most effulgent of effulgent things, and nothing could compare with the effulgence of this rope. Therefore, it must be the abode of the Brahmajyoti. It's so brilliant. He's seeing with spiritual eyes. We see an ordinary rope because we have no eyes to see. So now we should go to the deities and pray for that rope's blessings, that we get some eyes to see. Jai Sri Sri Radha Damodar ki Jai. Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.